From the Bitcoin and Archive, here's a replay from the broader Bitcoin and Stack. Sometimes that means a past episode, sometimes an interview, and sometimes a guest appearance from another show. The headlines may have moved on, but the Bitcoin signal, market context, and practical lessons still hold up. If it's useful, it belongs back in the feed. Here's today's selection from the Bitcoin and Archive. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, David Bennett. Still haven't named the podcast, so it's still whatever podcast this is, episode 1. It's Tuesday, 3:45 p.m. Central Standard Time. It seems to be August, I think it's August 29th. August 28th. I was off, off by one error. So today, I wanted to spend some time doing one of the topic pillars that this show is going to be about, which is sort of like permaculture-ish type thing. It's like my interpretation of that particular design science. I mean, I find the whole science, the whole space very, very useful. Everybody I know has a different take on, well, everybody I know that knows what the stuff is, finds it important, deals with it on a daily basis, like whether in podcasts or, YouTube clips or anything like that. Everybody has a different take on what it is, and that's fine. And I mean that should be expected. Not only is it to be expected, that should be expected. That said, there's the application of particular parts of the design science that is permaculture. It's one thing I think all of us agree on is the fact that it's like, well, if you're going to use X plant to do, either solve Y solution or affect, Z, situation, is going to be about the context that you're in. So what are you trying to do, and what's your context? And most of the times your context is going to basically kind of dictate what it is you're trying to do. So I'm going to give an example of that in this episode 1 of what podcast this is, or whatever it is that I decide to name it. So, okay, I have a particular issue at the new house that we moved into a few weeks back. The issue is that I've got it's not huge, but it's not small either. It's a pretty good size concrete patio, for lack of a better term, in the backyard of my house. It's a pretty good concrete pour. I don't see major any failures in it. Certainly nothing major. I don't see a whole lot of cracks. It looks like it was done well. It's nice. Like they actually put some patterning in on it, and it's nice. Except it's unusable in the summertime. Why? It's like I got a patio I can't use in the summertime, which is when you want to use your patios to be outside. Well, why is that? Well, it's the context. I'm in the panhandle of Texas. And, not to slander or leave any other states in the union behind on just, how hot it can get, because, yeah, I know it can get pretty hot in Death Valley, Arizona. But a second one is my patio in my backyard in July, late June, July, August, and early September. And now, so the reason is not just because it's west, the panhandle of West Texas. It's the aspect of of where this thing is in relation to the direction south and the direction west. And just so you know, later on today, I'm in the Honda Accord studio right now, cruising back up to the panhandle home. And when I get there, I'm going to take some video to show what it is that I'm talking about. And I will try to figure out a meaningful way to link these two things together. I want the video to basically shadow this podcast. And if you listen to my episode 0, I spoke a little bit about how I want to use, social media to stitch these things together, how it is, that I want to be able to produce, an audio version and then some kind of video to support it, and vice versa, and how to do that in a meaningful way, and how to do that where things, logically shadow each other, where like the video that I shoot later when I get home will shadow this audio podcast, and I'm, still, and it's going to take a while for me to figure out a good functional protocol to be able to say, this is how we're going to present it on Twitter, and this is how we're going to link it, and all that kind of stuff. So, bear with me, but there will be a video that is a companion piece to this audio that will show what it is that I'm talking about. But for right now, I'm just going to describe it. On the southwest corner of my house sits this patio. And it ends up being about, I don't know, I'm going to say like probably 18 to somewhere around 18 to 20 feet by 18 to 20 feet square. And it butts up right into the corner, that southwest corner of the house, because it sort of does like, the house itself was an old Cape Cod, and then there was an addition that connected a standalone garage to the rest of the Cape Cod. So there ends up being sort of like an inset, and that inset ends up being the southwest, the southwest corner of the house. So it's like a catcher's mitt of all the solar energy throughout the day. And in the wintertime, that's great, because it's going to heat it. I can use that to help heat that part of the house without having to worry about it, because it will catch a lot of the south and southwest energy. But God, in West Texas in the summertime, man, if you guys haven't, if anybody listening to me hasn't been out here, it's brutal. There's no two ways about it. It is brutal. And I understand the whole being down in Houston and 96% humidity, on an 80-degree day can make you feel like you just want to fall off a cliff because it just hurts so much. I get it. I've been there. I've also been to Washington, D.C. in the Maryland area around the Potomac in the summertime when it's all of 85 degrees and you just can't breathe because of how much the humidity, makes it just so oppressive. Well, this is dry as a bone out here. And it is just pure dry heat that will make you want to just either kill yourself or find the nearest body of water, and you don't care what temperature it is, you just fall into it because it's that hot. When I was in college, by the time I got home, because I would always walk, I don't know, 4 or 5, I was always walking at least, half a mile. Because by the time you got out, Texas Tech is a huge campus. It didn't matter where you were going to walk half a mile to a quarter of a mile before you set foot off of that campus. And then you had to walk a couple more blocks to wherever it was that you were living. By the time I got home, I was in so much misery. I would strip down, get into a shower, and just throw cold water for like 15 minutes to drain away the heat, to get my core body temperature down. It was that bad. So in this particular scenario, I've got this concrete pad that's getting baked by the sun. I've got a wall that faces due south, getting baked by the sun. And I got a wall that faces due west, that's getting baked by the sun. And they basically make an open-end box that just catches all the heat. So how do I fix this? How do I reclaim this little area? Oh, and by the way, there's no shade during the day. There's no, this entire solar energy pattern is not intercepted in any way, shape, or form by tree, bush, shrub, nothing. There's nothing to alleviate the direct solar radiation coming into this area, and it is bad. It's unbearable. It's unlivable. It's unusable, and I mean that. That's not an exaggeration. So, again, the question becomes, how do I fix it, or how do I alleviate it without spending lots and lots and lots of money? I mean, if I had all the money in the world, it would already be fixed. I would have just put a roof over it, like a pergola or an outdoor kitchen, so either a full roof or pergola or something. But I am not going to throw down thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars hoping that the contractor that I had the misfortune of picking out actually is anything remotely resembling competent. I've had bad contractors in the past. The kind of contractors that give the whole contracting space a bad name, yeah, those are my contractors. Those are the people that I get. So I just, even if I did have the money, I don't have the time. And let's say I did have the money and the time to screen the contractors to come out and do it. Wow, that's a lot of money, and it's a lot of time. Is there, and plus, when can it get done? I mean, I need something that's going to start alleviating this stuff, right now, because I've got, we're in West Texas. It's been known to be hot clear into, the first parts of October. I mean, hot, not like uncomfortable. I mean, or not, warm. I'm talking uncomfortably hot. It happens, and it's definite. And this, if it is even remotely uncomfortable in the first couple of weeks of October, because of the way this thing is, its aspect to the sun and the materials that it's made out of, and the way that it comes together, it's just going to be misery. So I need something quick, and something that I'm going to like. So I had to find a growing material, because I'm putting stuff in the ground that's going to do work for me, that's going to grow. I'm not going to build it, and I'm not going to pay to have somebody build it. I need nature to do this. I need nature to work her magic to take care of this problem, not for me, but with me. I want to be in kind of concert with using nature, at least understanding enough about what's going on in the natural world. And so I got a phone call, and it cut off the audio recording, so I had to start again. So we'll try to do some decent editing with this. So I've turned my phone on do not disturb, so that a phone call won't disconnect me automatically. So I want to work with nature and understand, understand enough to be able to say, look, I think I've got a solution, and I think I have a solution, and I've actually already implemented the solution. So now it's a waiting game to see if it will actually work. I think it will. I think it'll be interesting too, and and if it completely just fails, I can always grab a shovel. It's not going to be that big of a deal, because here's what I've done. I have planted bamboo around the perimeter of the patio. So the south edge of the patio, about 6 inches off its lip, it goes right to dirt. Actually, around the entire west perimeter and south perimeter goes right to dirt. So there's nothing in, you go, walk across the patio, going south, come to the south edge, take one, a step off, it's about 12 inches down, and your foot hits right on dirt. Same thing with the west side. So I dug a trench with a shovel, which is one of the first times that I found out just how bad the soil is. Oh, mercy. I've seen some pretty bad soil. This one, I don't know. It may not be as bad, but I'll tell you this. It's bad right where I was digging, and it's been bad in a couple of other places. I am not hopeful. But at least I can dig it. It's not like I'm running into limestone shelf, or some kind of granite, or something, at least I can dig in it. It's clay and it's sand. It's just, there's no organic material, and it's just been, neglected for a very, very long time. Makes it very, very hard. So that's what I'm dealing with. So when I finally got about a 3-inch trench dug all the way around, well, not all the way around, I'll get to that in a minute, but let's for now just say all the way around the west side and all the way around the south perimeter, or the south side of the patio, about 3 inches deep is this gutter, for lack of a better term. Now, my old house in Lubbock has, for years, I got that house, and I think I moved into it in 1994, something like that. Had a stand of bamboo. Over the years, I took some of the bamboo, I dug it up, and this one little stand, because I was replacing a fence, and dug it out and kind of realized that the core, the mass that the bamboo is coming out of, which I think if you cut them into sections, I want to say they're called corms, corms, I think is the proper name to use for the term of how you're going to propagate these things. But I said, okay, well, maybe I can get it. I don't want to kill it. It can't be here. So I moved it. And sure enough, it grew up and prospered and was fine. And then I got this idea about using bamboo to shade a couple of years ago. And at the house in Lubbock, I have a full western exposed wall that collects. It's a brick house, collects a lot of heat. So I kind of tried to plant a few pieces of bamboo in front of it to kind of shade it out, and did it completely wrong. Because it was just I planted it too close to the house, so it got shaded out on the east side, got sun blasted on the west side, so it caused the bamboo to come out at a 45-degree angle from the house. Not what I was looking for. I should have backed it off of the house so that it would have appropriate east light and then enough west light. But be that as it may, after all this kind of moving around and chopping this stuff up, I kind of got comfortable with how to transplant bamboo. And with all this, I've come up what I've realized about this particular, and I don't know what strain of bamboo it is. Again, I am not a botanist, but this particular, whatever this stuff is, will survive in the absolute worst conditions that West Texas can throw at it. I have never watered my bamboo at the house. It's fine. Not only is it fine, it thrives. And it also conditions the soil. That's an interesting offshoot of bamboo, which I'm, planning to look into and bring to y'all later. But for now, let's just stay on this topic with the fact that I've selected this one bamboo plant that no matter what I do to it, I cannot seem to kill it. Obviously, I've never sprayed it with herbicide to try to kill it, but short of that, I've never watered it. And it grows like 15-foot, 20-foot stalks. Like big ones too. I don't know, there's been a couple that I've pulled out that are at least twice the diameter of my thumb. Big honking things, and it grows fairly dense. So what I did is I dug up the corms that I planted a couple of years ago that was on the ones that were on the west side of my house that were coming out at a 45-degree angle. I cut all the big bamboo pieces off of it so that I could just bring the massive base home. Which when I dug those things, I dug up I dug up 4 of them, and each one of them was, I don't know, at least two of my hands put together of just this braided bread looking thing that ends up being the interstitial space between the roots that anchor this thing into the soil, those roots are impressive. But what's neat about it is that as a grass, there's not really a tap root. Bamboo is a grass. There's not really a main tap root. There's just a whole bunch of little ones that go off, but these things are long. And it took a great deal of strain to get like to pop these things out of the ground, because these, tendrils, or these root tendrils, were I don't know, probably some of them were about half as big as my pinky around, but there'd be like 20, 25 coming off every, 6 inches or so. So those things are anchored. I mean, they'll take really, really high winds. And so anyway, so be that as it may, I brought I want to say 3 of these big honking things home with me in a bucket. And once I got them home up into the house in Texas Panhandle, the first thing I did is got garden shoe, the same kind of branch clippers, the ones that'll like a branch, it's a set of loppers is what I think most people call them. It'll take like an inch and a half, or 4.5 inches max branch off, and cut the base into sections. I don't know, I want to say about 1.5 inches to 2 inches by 2 inches. So yeah, that ends up being about right, because about the diameter of this tube thing that makes up for lack of a better term, the corm, is about 1.5 inches in diameter. So I would cut them off into about 1.5 inches to 2 inch lengths. And I ended up getting, off of what I pulled out of the ground, which represents, think of a small stand of bamboo that had no more than 10 recognizable full-size bamboo stalks coming out of it, and a footprint about 4 foot wide by 4 foot, deep. So like what, 16 square feet, something like that. That's the area we're talking about. So not a whole lot of bamboo, and I got a bunch of it left at the house in Lubbock if I so choose to go get it. So I cut these things into 2 inch lengths and dropped them into a bucket of water and let those things sit overnight in fresh water. And I think I changed the water once on them, like the next day. And then the next day I do believe was a Sunday, and that's when I actually planted them into this trench, and I'll talk about that later. But first, a warning. I don't know what it is that eats bamboo, the bamboo roots, the corm, the interstitial space between the actual roots and the bamboo stalks. But apparently it has a natural predator, because I cut myself at least twice handling these corms. And when I first did it, I just kind of thought maybe I got bit by a critter that I trucked home, didn't think anything of it. But the second time I did it, I was like, what in the hell is this? I picked one of these things up, start really examining it, and there is some ugly looking growth that comes off these things that terminate in a very short, pointy, stabby, knife wielding looking thing that I can only assume is there to defend itself against something that would eat it. That's the only thing I can figure, because short of that, there ain't no reason for it to be there. But they hurt. They hurt a lot. So when you're handling these things, either be damn careful what you're doing, or wear like gloves or something. So just be aware. If you want to do this, like propagate bamboo, when you're handling what the thing that the bamboo is coming out of, and you're cutting that into corms, man, be careful. Okay, so after about 36 hours of soaking in fresh water, I had them in the trench. I filled the trench up with water and let that soak in a couple of times, and then I filled it up with water one more time just to make sure. And while it was filled with water, about every 1.5 foot, about every 1.5 foot, I would drop one of these corms. Just dropped it right into the ditch. I didn't care about orientation. I wasn't worried about it. I was like, it's either going to grow or it's not. Nature knows what to do. I don't have to treat it like it's some kind of idiot. And once I got them all placed, whatever corms I had left over, which I think I ended up planting, I want to say 35 was the total number. I mean, I got a lot off these things. So once I had like a handful left, I basically just found any other space I could in that trench and just kind of like crowd, like, okay, well, there's an inch and a half or a foot and a half between these two. I'll just go ahead and cut that half and that distance in half and just plop it here. Then buried it over, packed it in, watered it in, and it's been about a week, a little bit over it. But about 4 days ago is when I saw my first bamboo shoot poking its head out of the ground. As of this morning, I counted 12 coming out. So I'm almost to a third of what I planted. A little bit, probably right at a third of what I planted. I'm sure I will recognize some more this afternoon when I get back to the house. And so they're planted about 6 inches away from the lip of the patio all the way around, except for 2 places, one on the south side and one on the west side, that are going to act as doors to the outside. So why did I do this? Instant shade. This stuff grows fast. It grows tall. It doesn't require water that much. I mean, just, once it's, just to get it established, yeah, sure, you're going to water it because you want it to grow fast. But once it's up and done, you don't have to worry about this stuff ever again. Now, the fact that it's going to rain on that patio, and that patio receives quite a bit of water, not only from its own footprint, but also from the runoff from the roof of the house, which are guttered. What's going to happen is that all that water is going to be slowed down by that bamboo when it falls off that patio, and instead of running off my land, it's going to help slow that water down. It's going to water the bamboo because it's going to come off all those edges, and what's right there? The bamboo. So it's going to do that. It's going to, it's going to be able to harvest its own water. It's going to grow up straight because it's far enough off the east side, is far enough off the sides of the house by 18 feet, that like from the east, it's 18 feet from the east side, and then it's like the 18 feet from the south side of the house. So it has plenty of room to get solar exposure from like all these different angles, unlike when I planted it on the west side of my house in Lubbock, where I planted it right by the edge of the house, which is a dumb thing to do. So it's going to grow up, and those things are going to be anywhere between 12 to 20 feet high, because that's what it's these are clones from the parent plant. And I'd swear I have a couple that are at least 18 feet, if not, over 20. And as this gets established, since it's going to grow straight up because it has adequate exposure from both, east and west sources of light, it's going to grow straight up, and it's going to screen. It's going to screen the sun from the west. It's going to screen the sun from the south. It's also going to act as a windbreak because we get some pretty violent winds in West Texas. If you've ever seen a West Texas dust storm or a West Texas haboob, they can get very brutal. I mean, we're talking pretty ugly. So it will actually act as a windscreen as well. And then what's the other thing that's going to do? It's going to act like walls. It's going to kind of partition that little spot off from the rest of the backyard. So when you walk out those two little holes that I did not plant bamboo in, and yes, I will probably have to maintenance them, to make sure that they don't get encroached upon. But once you walk past that wall of bamboo, well, the whole backyard is going to be, oh, wow, I didn't realize that, that this was here. Well, obviously, I realized it was there. But, if you're sitting there and you're talking, blah, 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 and then all of a sudden you remember you got to go do something, it will be like leaving a room. So this is sort of my take on how to use permaculture and the design science of permaculture to use, because I didn't buy the bamboo, how to learn how to propagate these plants so that you can go find bamboo and move it someplace and not have to pay somebody for it. I didn't pay a dime. I worked my ass off, but I didn't pay a dime. And this thing is going to grow up straight, tall. It's going to do. I'm pretty sure it's going to do what I want it to do. There will be unexpected consequences, and I will deal with those. I will deal with those as they come. But it is going to screen. It is going to grow in thick. It is going to grow tall, and it's going to be an interesting. It's going to be an interesting thing, and I will update you guys on its progression, and I will definitely get a video out on exactly what it is that I'm talking about so that you guys can see it if you want. And somehow or another attach it, make sure it shadows this particular episode. But with that said, we will just have to see how this goes. But this is sort of my particular interpretation of the design science of permaculture is, how do we use natural things to our benefit to make our lives better, more pleasant, more comfortable, more interesting, using the least amount of cash available, and kind of trade in a bunch of hard work for it. Knowing how to propagate bamboo is it's actually pretty easy. I hope you guys learn how to do it. I am going to do another video. I can't do it today because I don't have any extra bamboo, but I am going to bring some more up, and I am going to shoot a video that copies exactly what it is that I did, how I cut them, how I soaked them, and how I planted them, and I'm going to upload that later on as a video as well, so that you guys can learn to do this, because bamboo it's pretty easy, and it's so useful. It is one of the most useful plants that I've ever come across. So I hope that helps. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed this kind of thing. With that, I'm going to go ahead and let you go, and you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you in episode 2.